Instagram. I'm Bianca.
And I'm Royce.
And we're back post-delivery of baby number 2. I wanted to give you guys all the nitty-gritty details. We did post our delivery vlog, so you can go back and watch that one. But now we're going to tell you like what was really happening behind the scenes and how things were different from baby number 1 versus baby number 2.
Yeah.
So let's start off with my last baby appointment visit before going into labor. We had one last visit, an ultrasound. Everything looked fine. And she said that I was already starting to dilate. And she was saying that like if I wanted to, we could go to the hospital right then and there. She could induce me and I could have the baby on that day. So I was like, dang, like, do we want our baby today?
I
Like,
know.
we could. But I don't know why it's always like, we want our baby to come out when they want to come out. But then at the same time, like, they're already fully cooked. So we could just have our baby sooner.
Because it's weird, right? Because you're kind of like, I can just control when this happens. It kind of like feels weird. And I think that's ultimately why we were like, oh, let's wait. Because the big thing was, last time, Jalen came a week late. And we were hoping for him to kind of come naturally. But you ended up having to get induced.
And I did not want to be induced again. Like, that was like my only thing on my birthing plans, that I did not want to be induced because I had to take Pitocin last time and my body had a really strong reaction to it. So then they had to give me a shot that then counteracted the Pitocin. So it was just too much, and all that was happening before my epidural. Going in now, I've learned that like if you're gonna get an epidural and you've already decided you want to do that first, and then you don't get any of the pain. So like get the epidural and then get induced. And then all that jazz, because you'll never be in pain. It'll be a great, beautiful experience. So we didn't want to be induced in that way. But then my OB suggested doing something called membrane sweeping. And I was like, okay, what is that? We've never heard of that. She goes in there and she goes in deep. And she basically just like separates the sac of the baby from like the lining of the wall. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the right terms. This is probably incorrect.
Sounded good to me.
Doctor things. She said if she does this, it is possible for me to go into labor within 48 hours. I said, okay, let's try it. She said if it doesn't come in by tomorrow or the next 48 hours, it wasn't me. I won't take credit. But if it did, it was because of me. So she did it, and it was kind of very uncomfortable because she goes in really deep. Now when it comes to inducing, some people say like, oh, you can just have sex, and apparently that's supposed to speed up the process. So I asked her, what's the difference between sexual penetration and what you're about to do? And she said she's going in way deeper than any sexual intercourse could do. No offense. But
it's science.
It's science. It's just they go in different places, and that's not where that belongs.
So after all that, same day, Bianca wanted to make some more content. So we've been trying to do the whole what belly cast thing. We wanted to shoot that for a while, but we just kept putting it off. And then now it's gotten to the point where, okay, well, this baby can literally arrive at any moment, so we should probably do it now. If you haven't seen the video, go ahead and check that out. That's also on our channel. Literally right after we were done, you started getting pains. After we had finished that, I also had to work, so I had to edit for my job. She's on the couch like, whoo, ha, hee. And I'm just like, you okay? And then meanwhile, trying to pack everything up in our bag, just in case it was about to go down. So.
And yes, we should have had our hospital bag packed already, but I'm a procrastinator. When I travel, I pack the hour before the flight.
Yeah, and I will say that's definitely something I think was different from the first time around. We were like weeks ahead of schedule with packing everything, making sure everything was ready. This time we were just like, oh yeah, it's fine, we got time.
He was like, are these real contractions? I'm like, I don't know. And even though it was my second baby, I like really forgot what a contraction felt like. And I was induced, so I never had the like, whoo, it's time feeling. It really does leave your mind after you have a baby. You're just like, oh my God, it's so cute. And you forget the pain. So I was getting them, but it was like every 5 minutes and then 10 minutes and then 14 minutes. So it just wasn't consistent. So then I go to bed by like 3 a.m. They're getting like pretty strong, and I'm getting uncomfortable, and I can't sleep, and I'm annoyed that I can't go to sleep. I'm also anxious. It's like, is my water gonna break? So by 8 a.m. I was like, okay, it's time to time them. So I download that little app that counts your contractions, and at that point the app said it's time to go to the hospital because they were exactly 5 minutes apart. I don't know why, but like I really wanted that like, oh, it's happening feeling, because I didn't get that the first time. Now that I've had it, I'm like, why did I want this? Why did I wait for the pain to come? But you know, that's childbirth and pregnancy for you.
So if you actually want a play-by-play of how the birthing experience was like, definitely check out our vlog, because we go into detail about all that stuff. But what I can tell you here is kind of how I felt emotionally versus the first time. I was way more relaxed. Like, I forgot a lot of stuff, but then as things were happening, they started coming back. It kind of helped that you had those contractions the night before, because everything was packed. So when we rolled through, everything was already ready. We just had to grab the bags. I had already put them in the car. I dropped you off. I remember we pulled up and I was like, wait a minute, do I drop you off here? Do you come up with me? And you're just like, let me out. Just let me out. So parts.
Yeah, I didn't even know like where to go. So I checked in and I'm like waiting in line. One, if y'all know me, I don't wait in any line. I was like, I guess I'll wait in this line. So I'm kind of like, I'm not exaggerating, but I'm like, hey, everyone in front of me that's not having a baby right now, like, can I cut? And then someone's like, have you been helped? I was like, no, but I'm about to go into labor. Like, oh, you can go to, you know, that room. Some guy told me the wrong place to go. I was supposed to just go in the elevator and go right up to the baby center. So don't wait in line ever, but especially if you're pregnant at the hospital.
So I didn't know you had to wait in line.
I did.
That's crazy. So yeah, I rolled through with the bags, and then as I'm checking in, I'm like, yeah, my wife is having a baby, and they're like, oh, is that her over there? And I just see you just like by the elevator, like, hey,
having a contraction.
Let's go.
They're
so I'm like,
is someone helping you? I'm like, no. Like, do you need a wheelchair? I was like, no. Like, well, then go to floor 5. I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't know. I forgot what floor it was on and all that jazz.
So we went up there, checked in, and everything happened. But just the whole process, like, was just so like, oh, okay, where we go? All right, we go up here. Cool. Bam, we're in the room, chilling. Where the first time I was like, where do we go? Okay, all right, we need to go here. Do you have everything? Are you okay? Everything all right? How can I be of service? If you don't need me, I'll be over here. But if you do need me, I'll be right here. So that was cool to kind of like re-experience everything, but be able to like breathe, and everything happened slower. So I got to really take everything in this time, which was really nice.
One thing I learned is I did buy my own like hospital robe. I decided just to wear the hospital gown during my whole pregnancy, and then I changed after the baby because it just gets dirty because you're so bloody and all that jazz when they put the baby on you. So if you do bring your own, put it on after the baby's born, and then they could just, you know, take the nasty ones. At that point, I think I was 4 centimeters when we arrived, and then I wanted to hold off, took the epidural, and then about 15 minutes later, I wanted the epidural. The
just like
contractions
last
are getting
time.
stronger. Every time I think, I'm like, I can hold out, it's fine. And then when a big one comes, I'm like, I need it now. So I was nervous about that because I remember that being like uncomfortable, but it wasn't that bad this time. It's just more, I would say, like uncomfortable because they are putting a needle in between your spine. So it's like a sharp piercing feel. It's like a hee, and you go hee. It's almost like being like stung by a bee in your spine versus like pain. It's just like a sting. The nurse was making me a little nervous because she was like, I was like, is everything okay back there? And she was like, she wasn't sure if it was working, and I was like, are you doing it right? So then she's like, well, let me know if you could feel anything, and if not, we'll have to try again. I was like, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
But luckily it worked, and then she's like, can you feel this? And I was like, no. So got my epidural, and then life was grand after that, like last time.
Yes, then you slept like a baby, had your nap, and then I used that time, this time, to prep things like the birthing sign and all that, so all that was ready to go, where last time...
With his name and weight and date.
Yeah. Where last time, it wasn't until like after he was born, I was like, oh wait, we need to take a picture, oh, we need to do this. So everything I think was more planned out and prepped for and way more calm, and things that were happening like that moment, I would have like freaked out the first time, like, where now it was just like, okay, I'm sure it'll work out.
Everyone told me that baby number 2, like everything's faster, the baby's gonna come faster, but it was still like pretty gradual, and I thought I was gonna get there and like my baby was gonna come like within an hour, like 2 hours maybe. But it still, you know, took a normal amount of time. So after the epidural, some time goes by, and they decided to check me again. And they say, okay, we're getting close. I think we should, we're getting close, but your contractions are slowing down. They're not getting as strong, so you're not dilating as fast anymore. We think we should break your water. So I was like, okay. Last time my water broke on its own. This time they wanted to actually pop it. They said, are you okay with the doctor that we have here to do it? I said, that's fine. He comes in and he's like, oh, there's nothing here. Like, there's no water. I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, it's nothing here. Like, I could feel hair. Like, I wouldn't be able to feel hair if your water hadn't broke. So my water, I guess it did break on its own, but I didn't get that, like, whoosh water feeling. And even the nurse was like, are you sure? Because I haven't changed her pads or anything. Like, there's no water anywhere. So my water disappeared. And he had nothing to pop. So at that point, I was like, okay, well, now the water's gone. Things are going to definitely start moving quickly. So then they decided to call my doctor. And just so you guys know, when you have your doctor, they don't come in until the very last minute. Like, you have nurses the whole time. And when it's showtime, that's when your doctor just strolls on in. My doctor couldn't really leave the house because she has a daughter. And she was waiting on her husband, who I think is also a doctor, to come back from his, like, surgery he was doing. So we're waiting for the doctor, hoping she gets here in time. And they started throwing out things like, if she doesn't make it, are you cool with Dr. So-and-so delivery? And I was like, yeah, I guess. Like, at the end of the day, I want my baby. I want what's safe. If he needs to come out now because of whatever reason, we're going to get him out. Would it be nicer to have my doctor that I've been planning this with for 9-10 months? Yes. But I was prepared for her maybe not to make it. She did make it, luckily. And then once we had her out and, like, how everything went down, I was so glad. Because she's just, like, so positive and, like, so calm and so chill and encouraging. So it would have been weird just for this random guy, for instance, and not even like my female doctor to deliver the baby. So that all worked out. I did have to push more this time. 10 sets of 3 pushes. Last time I also needed to have like the little vacuum kind of like suction him out because he like was stuck or something. This time we didn't need the vacuum. So his head was in a cone shape, so that was good. Way more hair this time than Jaylen's.
I was next to you on both times, but the first time I caught Jaylen, so right before he came out, doctor called me over, so I got full frontal view of everything as the baby came out. And that was such a cool experience because as the baby came out, the doctor literally like ushered him right into my arms. So,
but meanwhile, he's seeing everything.
I got to hold him right as he came out, and I literally was just like shocked. It was such a crazy experience. But to the point where the doctor's like, all right, give it to the mom now. And I'm like, oh, all right, okay. Where this time I just stayed by your side. For partners thinking about, doing one or the other, what I liked about catching the baby, obviously, was kind of like you being that first point of contact, which is really cool. Whereas this time just being by your side was actually just as great because when he came out, like, I actually got to see his face and everything, like his whole body, where being in front of you, I literally just got like top of the head and I didn't really get to see him until he was in my arms. So if, the full frontal view, that whole part seems a little too extreme, you might get nauseous. I would say after I did it, I was telling people that, that you definitely need to do this. This is something worth doing. But now kind of just being by her side and then being able just to see the whole baby come out and then passed into your arms, the experience honestly was just as awesome. So I kind of reversed that perspective of like, you're good either way, whatever you want to do. But I will say, this time, if you've seen our first video, How to Be a Dad video, cutting the umbilical cord, first time, I wasn't ready. The squishy scissors weren't sharp. That's what I'm going to blame it on, the scissors. Couldn't quite get it. Took me a couple snips. This time, boy, let me tell you, I was ready.
Slicing and dicing.
Finally snipped. I was like, give me your sharpest scissors. Do not have me looking like a fool out here. Bam. Brought me the cord, snip, one time, game over. And that's my story.
Yeah. So, held the baby, crazy moment. I always want my first words to be that I love you. And then they take the baby, wash him off. And just like that, we now had 2 babies. And I was just so excited for him to meet our firstborn, Jaylen. Like, what's that reaction going to be like? Introducing this whole other person that's going to be living in your house, getting more attention. But our son is, like, so loving and giving. And he seemed like he was excited. He kept saying, like, there's a baby in there. But, like, to say that and understand, like, there's an actual baby inside mommy's tummy is really crazy. So I was just anxious to get home.
The more days you stay in the hospital, the more they charge you. So we were like, can we leave immediately this time?
I mean, there's just so many things that have to be checked. Like, the baby has, like, his hearing test. and then your pediatrician comes in, and then they're checking like my IV, then they're also giving me pain medicine, and then you literally need assistance to go to the bathroom, which is a godsend, because no matter how modest you are, once you have a baby, you are so glad to have a nurse there to help spray water on your vagina. And like, I had the sweetest nurse ever, and we're literally just having a conversation, and she's like, squirt, squirt, and like passing me pads, and I'm not even thinking about like, who is this like stranger looking at every part of me. You're just like so grateful that someone is there to help you. But the first day and the bleeding is like the most of it, and at that point you just want to be able to just be in your own bed and be comfortable at home. So came in that morning, delivered by 6 p.m., slept that night, and then our families were so excited to see the baby because of COVID still lingering around for baby number 2. They had a visitor cutoff time, which was at 8 p.m. So by the time we had the baby, you have 2 hours of recovery. So at that point, visiting hours were over. Whereas with our first child, he was born a little bit after midnight, and our family was waiting in the waiting room, and like they all came in to see him like as soon as he was born. And the next day, we had even more family in our rooms. We have all these like group family photos in the hospital room. Where this time, because of COVID, they limited visiting hours until 8 p.m. So my family came the next morning, and then since we decided we were going to leave that same day, instead of his whole family coming as well, we just went home and showed the baby to his family on that day.
But the night we were there, I think we both got a lot more sleep and were more well rested than we were the first time. Because I don't know why, for whatever reason, I feel like the nurses didn't barge in on us as much.
Not as much.
Not as
I
much?
felt like I was being poked around a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You definitely were. I was just chilling on the couch. But but also too, our second child, he didn't really cry that much.
He's a good sleeper.
Which was great. So when we finally did get home, my parents were just like, "You guys seem like really like well rested and chill." We're like, "Hey guys, we're back. What's going on?" They're like, "What? Why are you so happy? Like you should be super exhausted."
Yeah, and to this day, he's now officially 2 months at this point, and I hate to break it to you, but he's actually sleeping like 8 hours through the night. We know we're blessed.
Yes.
Knock on wood. But he's been a really good sleeper, and it was at a point where I was waking him up to feed him every 3 hours like we were told that he has to do. But what people don't tell you is, yes, you have to feed your child every 3 hours after they're born. As soon as they regain their birth weight, you don't have to keep waking them up. So if they're sleeping, you can let them sleep. Definitely ask your doctor if that's okay for you, your baby, your situation, but that's what we were told. So once I stopped waking him up, he's been sleeping great throughout the night.
And to all the partners out there, make sure to re-educate yourself on things like installing a car seat, making sure the car seat is already set up for your newborn.
Not just installed.
Yes, not just installed, because I installed it and I was like, we're good to go. But once we were ready to go home, Bianca put Kylo in the car seat, and the headrest had still been adjusted to the very top, because of Jalen, he maxed out on that on size, and I forgot I had to bring that back down, but I couldn't remember how to bring it back down. So then I was like, all right, let me just watch this YouTube video.
Then we said, go to YouTube!
Go to YouTube! And I just remember there was like this little flap at the top that I had to pull that then lowers the headrest. And I was like, oh, that's right.
And then he fit perfect. I was like, he looks like he's being swallowed in this car. He
Yeah.
doesn't look safe. He's very small. I don't think this is right.
Yeah, so just because you did something once and you think you remember, make sure just to, re-up yourself on that stuff. Just real quick.
Yeah. One thing that we also did a little differently, the first time we were on schedule when it came to the time that I nursed, left side at this time, right side at this time, this many poopy diapers, this many pee diapers, because you have to do that in the hospital because the doctor wants to make sure that the baby is getting enough milk and pooping and all that stuff. But then once we got home, we were like, wait, no one's asking us for this homework. Why are we doing this? We were like, do we miss a feeding? Do we miss a diaper change? We had Alexa, I don't want all yours to go off. Like we had her keeping schedule of every single diaper we've ever changed. And it was like stressful. And they were like, wait, we don't have to keep track. We could just maybe keep track like the day before your appointment so you have the right number, but you don't have to stress out about, or at least we decided not to stress out about that like we did with the first time. So once we got home, the best part for me was definitely introducing him to our son. As you saw in our video, our vlog, he was like genuinely so excited. He just started like jumping around and like was so happy. And you can't fake that. Like toddlers, like they're gonna express how they actually feel. So he was just like so excited, and to this day he's always like, "Mama, baby's crying," or "Oh, he needs a diaper," or if he cries, he'll run and get his pacifier and like stick it in his mouth. So he's so helpful, and it's just, we're just so excited to watch them grow up together, and we've given him a little friend.
Now the biggest thing has been adjusting to having 2 kids, because before there was adjustment to having 1 kid, but there were moments like when he went down for a nap, or you know, when it was time for bed, we at least had that time to kind of focus and do our own stuff. Or if like one of us was watching him, the other can kind of do something else.
Now we're both on duty.
Yeah, so now we realized when our oldest goes down for a nap, it's like, oh wait, but we still have this one.
Yeah.
Literally this week probably has been the best thing I've done so far. Is I finally have just given in to having 2 kids, and that there are going to be times when you're not going to do anything. You won't have time to do it. So you might as well just be present, be in the moment with them, and then just take that in, because that's really what's more important. And then when you do have those small windows, you know, take advantage of that. But just understanding that you will have to operate in a completely different way.
First couple weeks was really rough. Like, I know they say like, you're not gonna get any sleep and all the baby sleep stuff, but like I was like painfully exhausted. And because we realized, like, even though a newborn does sleep a lot, we now have our toddler still waking up at 7. We also chose that week to transition Jalen from a crib to a bed.
Yes.
So now we're dealing with teaching our toddler to stay in the bed and not come up to our room at 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. while the baby's also trying to eat at 3 a.m. But we'll do a full video on transitioning from crib to bed, because we actually have a nice little hack for that. But like you said, like, there's just no like just you time or just you time. It's just both all the time.
I guess the best advice that my dad just gave me, that his dad gave him, was that when you have kids and they're around you, you have to learn to give up on not give up on yourself.
Give up on your dreams.
Give up on your dreams, no. But kind of like give up on yourself in a sense that like you just have to let go and understand that like this is their time now. And being able to shift to that mindset is really hard, especially for both of us who I feel like are so driven as far as like our businesses and what we do. And I know especially for me, like being a creative, I'm like doing something at every second of the day. My mind is constantly thinking of like new things to do. I'm training my mind to stop that, and that it's okay. Yeah, it's okay to stop that, because I know there's also that pressure of like, oh, but if I'm not trying to do this, you know, I need to be like, you know, the super parent. You know, I can do work and watch my kid at the same time. I would say that's the biggest thing that, you know, I wish people would have prepared us for. Because even with the first kid, there's that adjustment, right? But now an even more adjustment has to be made. So that's the biggest thing. I would just say mentally prepare to shift how you operate when it comes to your personal stuff.
We were getting through, and we were loving having 2.
Yes.
And now I already want more. But I think that's all of our update thus far with 2 kids. Let us know what questions you have. I'm planning on my next video being what was in my hospital bag, what I actually needed this time around. It was much less than the first time. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at RMB Fam. We have a lot of baby videos coming up with our new baby gear. We got new bassinets. We got 2 of them. We're going to be comparing products, comparing breast pumps, like whatever kind of content you want. Leave a comment and let us know. We will get that to you. So subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're notified as soon as we post a new video. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See ya.